Something that Sony did way back when, probably was almost the first of their kind to do something like this, was to introduce a Bluetooth wireless lavalier microphone system setup for use by the average Joe. And if we were to take a look back in 2006 at the handycam accessory catalog that likely would have come with our fancy shiny new handycam, you can see that the ECM-HW1 actually was listed as their best seller, self-proclaimed by, of course, Sony, the people that sell them, for list price of $199.99. And the nice thing with it being a Sony accessory, of course, just like how Apple's ecosystem is these days, is you know it'll work out of the box with their devices. In this case, this HDV camcorder has what Sony referred to as an active interface shoe. And so I'm quite pleased to announce that I have not just the transmitter, not just the receiver, also the armband, the lanyard, the pop filter windscreen thing that you're supposed to put over the microphone, the black velvet carrying case, actually running out of room here, the little clip that attaches to your lapel or your shirt or collar, and also a printed instruction manual. Now there's two parts to this equation, the transmitter and the receiver. The transmitter, of course, being the unit responsible for transmitting your audio, picking it up. The microphone is right there and clipping onto your shirt or your collar. And then the receiver, which connects up to the active interface shoe of your handycam. Just go ahead and line this up to where the contacts are in the accessory shoe. You slide it on, and now you need to actually twist this around, and kind of just has different indents in its range of motion, and you want to swivel this around so that this receiver is pointing at whatever your subject is that's going to be wearing this microphone. And of course, this was the time when a majority of Sony's handycams had 5.1 channel surround sound microphones built into them, and the way in which you could have used this lavalier microphone is to have it behave as the center channel, which you would accomplish by switching this up to 5.1 channel center. Otherwise, for those people like me that don't have any of those fancy 5.1 channel surround sound microphone capable camcorders, well, we could just switch this on and have it function like a normal monaural lapel lavalier microphone. Now with the receiver connected to the camcorder, you power the camcorder on, you can see the blue light begins to flash on the receiver, and now you come over to the transmitter, turn its switch to the on position, and if you give it a moment or two and place it in front of the receiver so that it actually can pick up the signal, you can see that the lights light up solidly blue, and they are now successfully paired together. And now I interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to bring you the story of how, in this case, 2 times was the charm. This is actually the second Bluetooth Sony ECM-HW1 microphone set. The first one that I purchased arrived to me damaged. Where it connects to the active interface shoe was actually broken, exposing a number of the metal pins, and that led to an incredibly loose fit, finish, and feel of the receiver. You just had it plugged in here and the thing was all wobbly and loose, and no matter what I tried to do, even when it seemed like it was going to work, it never was able to pair up successfully with the transmitter. These blue lights would just consistently blink on and off. They never successfully paired, and I left them for probably almost a half an hour, just the camera pointing at the transmitter, and it never paired together. And while the physical damage probably had something to do with it, hunting around online and discovering a Sony service manual revealed to me a critical piece of information that, well, people buying these things used, or even selling them used, might not know about. If you notice on the back of the receiver by the CE logo, there is a number here. That is a serial number linked to this receiver. Likewise, if I flip around the transmitter and access its battery compartment, which just takes regular old AAAs, you can see that there is also a number in here printed, which is the transmitter serial number. And that number is important because both serial numbers have to match, just like the two halves of a dollar bill. Well, if the serial numbers don't match, the microphone and the receiver won't pair together successfully. And now with that brief excursion and case of caveat emptor out of the way, you can go ahead and reinstall the little clip here. And if I so desired to, let's say wind noise was a problem or plosives, you can use this little windscreen windsock thing to slip the microphone into. Now, because of that clip, it's very easy just to clip this onto a shirt, your collar, anything like that. Likewise, Sony gave you this wrist strap if for whatever reason clipping it to your shirt, collar, or anything like that just wasn't quite your cup of tea. You can strap this around your wrist, your arm, and get decent sounding audio that way. Now, because at the end of the day, this microphone connects up to your shirt, pocket, sleeve, whatever, what have you, with this little plastic clip, there is, of course, the chance of this thing coming undone and this going crashing to the ground. So to avoid that from happening, they actually provided a lanyard, which would normally loop right through that hole, and you would put this around your neck for safekeeping, so if this thing got jostled or banged into and slipped off your shirt, it wouldn't fall on the ground and break. Oh yeah, one thing I neglected to mention is the presence of a headphone jack on the receiver for monitoring the audio from the microphone. You can actually tell when it's having issues with audio reception when the blue light flashes rapidly on either the receiver or the transmitter. Now, if you watch that blue light in the receiver as I move the transmitter around, and of course it's not going to misbehave because I have a camera pointed at it, but you're probably able to just see that blue light flicker on and off, and that is to indicate that there's a problem with the reception. This is actually behaving better than I thought it was, and better than it was during my initial testing of it. And I'm wondering if perhaps this has something to do with the area in which I am currently recording this video. I was right next to a wireless router, a computer, and a number of other wireless devices. I'm sure my 5 gigahertz wireless router had something to do with that fact, because now that I'm in a different area, well away from wireless communications of any kind, it looks to be having a very steady and stable connection. And now for the moment that everybody has been waiting for, time to switch over from the built-in microphone of this camcorder I've currently been using for the entirety of this video, and switch over to the 2006 Sony ECM-HW1. Unfortunately, to be able to do that, I have to kiss goodbye my halogen video light, because you can only have one device connected to your interface shoe, and it's either a video light or a microphone. You can't have both. Oh well. And so here we are with the very first test of using this ECM-HW1 2006 era Sony Bluetooth microphone, lavalier microphone, clipped to my shirt. And the only consequence of doing that, of course, is you're probably going to hear some rustling as I move around, but it shouldn't be too terribly bad. I don't currently have the little windscreen pop filter sock thing on it because I am indoors and there is a tendency for these things to end up dulling the sound, so I'll leave that off for the time being. And I'm going to walk over to the other side of this room and try to keep my eyes on the little Bluetooth lamp on the receiver to see if it cuts in or out as I move around, and I don't see it flashing. And now for my next magic trick, I'm going to employ the services of this vintage Westinghouse fan to demonstrate the effectiveness of using the included Sony windsock for reducing wind noise. First things first, oh, that's going to oscillate, and I didn't want that to do that. Alright, and now this is with the sock on the microphone. I don't know about anybody else, but for having been from 2006 and being a Bluetooth wireless microphone setup, quality, sound quality, and performance is shockingly good. In fact, I would go so far as to say it sounds remarkably similar in audio quality and tonal characteristics to something like the Rode Bluetooth wireless microphones that you can get today. So thankfully, unlike the first one I got, this one is in good working condition, and I'll very likely be putting this thing to good use for upcoming videos. The only shortcoming that I previously alluded to was having to pick and choose between either having good, well-lit video or good quality audio, but you can't have your cake and eat it too, and as far as I'm aware, you can't somehow cobble together two of these active interface shoe accessories to work with one active interface shoe.